So we've got the first two done. We're on the third one right now. And also while we're here, we're going to go with our oxalic acid, which is terrible, by the way. This is basically what we're doing is we're basically fumigating the hives. What this will do will cause the mites to fall off the bees, because normally they attach themselves to in between the scales on their stomach. So that will cause them to fall off. They'll get rid of them. The what's the stuff called again? The thymovar will kill them. So definitely important. Sorry, we're talking weird. This acid stuff it's pretty harsh on the lungs. Probably shouldn't be breathing it in, but hey, it's for the bees.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Freedom Honey Podcast as we continue our descent into cult-like status. Yeah, that was our first time we tried fumigating the hives, so basically to get rid of the mites, and definitely should have had some better PPE because like our eyes were watering, our mouth was going numb. Our beekeeper guru Stefan was like, "You guys are a bunch of idiots." So yes, thank you for following and listening to us as we continue our amateur beekeeping adventure. And with that, we're going to get into this week's episode. So this week's episode, Real Men Don't Slava for Ukraine. A lot of stuff came down this week, a lot of stuff about the Ukraine war and stuff like that. And I'm very opinionated, so this is my chance for me to rant and just give you guys my thoughts. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, I really don't care. And let's get into it. With that, I drink through these. So we'll crack open a fresh PBR. And let's get into the stories of today. Okay, so first things first. Trudeau signs $3 billion security deal for Ukraine on second anniversary of Russian invasion. PM says Ukrainians are fighting and dying for our collective future. So Blackface in Chief basically just wanted to tell us that the grift is going to continue. Now, I've been getting into a lot of online arguments over the last week, month, year, 2 years about my thoughts on this. And I, to this day, still stand with my firm commitment that this is a massive grift. This war could have ended years ago. It didn't. It's too good for business. And it needs to stop. And us just funneling more cash into it is just going to make it continue. And sadly, more hundreds of thousands of people are going to die. Ukraine's already basically hourglassed their population. I was watching a video a couple days ago of the Ukrainian troops going into a nightclub and recruiting people to go join the war effort. I saw another video. It was like there was a guy with Down syndrome was on the front line. I mean, they're running out of troops. It's sad. I mean, I don't like to see people die. Just super, super sad stuff. I mean, I remember my friends telling me their experiences when they were over there training them as part of 1CR of Operation Unifier. And my buddies were like, man, these guys were hammered all the time. At night, they would just get drunk. Their tents had just empty bottles all over it. They would show up to their classes, I guess you could call them, just wasted because they knew they were going to die. They didn't care. They didn't care what we were training them. They were like, we really don't care. This is a break from the Donbass. And I mean, all of those guys are probably dead by now. Plus, a lot of them were Nazis. I mean, these guys were telling me stories. These guys had like swastika tattoos on them or Hitler's face and stuff like that. So when they say we weren't training Nazis, we were training Nazis. And I don't like Nazis. Yeah, just more and more stuff of them just talking about how much we're resolved and we're committed to this and we won't stop giving money until Ukraine wins, which sadly is definitely not going to happen. Also, Zelensky came out with a statement saying 31,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed. Yeah, I think you missed a zero there, hon. Way more than that. So, with the money that Trudeau is now given for the $4 million, one of the things was gender-inclusive explosives removal. So in the statement, gender-inclusive demining for sustainable futures in Ukraine, funding $4 million. This project from the Halo Trust aims to safeguard the lives and livelihoods of Ukrainians, including women and internationally displaced persons. by addressing the threat of explosive ordnance present across vast areas of the country. Project activities include conducting non-technical surveys and subsequent manual clearance in targeted communities, providing capacity building to key national stakeholders, and establishing a gender and diversity working group to promote gender transformative mine action in Ukraine. Oh, this is too much. I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. Shout out to David Creighton. If you guys check him out, he's got a show on YouTube. Creighton's right, solid cat. Love his stuff. Anyway, he had some really good comments about this week's kind of Ukrainian stuff. I mean, he's really knowledgeable about this. And he's kind of hardline. So let's watch some clips.
This is the most recent announcement. As part of this commitment, Canada will provide $3.02 billion in critical financial and military support to Ukraine in 2024. So here's the most current material. In addition, the Prime Minister announced new support for Ukraine's resilience and recovery efforts. This includes $75 million in peace and security assistance, which includes demining, cyber support, and intelligence support. $15 million in preservation assistance, specifically supporting the completion of the National Museum of the Holodomor genocide in Kiev. Yes, the famine, the artificial famine in Ukraine, that in also parts of Russia, it wasn't just Ukraine that was affected by the artificial famine created by Stalin. That was a horrible, horrible thing. But why in hell are we creating a museum at this point? Ukraine is supposedly fighting tooth and nail at war. I think that money would be better spent on a cemetery. Now, I'm not trying to be funny either, because clearly this war is about putting Ukrainians on the battlefield as cannon fodder and having them blown up in this war. Ukraine is not going to win this war. It's impossible for Ukraine to win this war. Ukraine was never going to win this war. And this war was really about what was going on in the Donbass region of Ukraine, where those parts of Ukraine want to be part of Russia. Justin Trudeau wants to call that misinformation, disinformation, because he doesn't know anything about this war. He hasn't got a clue in hell what this war is about.
Yeah. $15 million for a museum. I mean, you got Zelensky going on about, oh, we need more weapons or we'll lose, and it's getting rough, and we need more help, and we need this. But yes, $15 million of our taxpayer money going to build a museum in Kiev. Come on, this is just getting ridiculous. And on that note, like 10 cities are on the rise. People are broke. Cost of living is going up. My beer is getting more expensive, and I'm kind of pissed off about that. Wages aren't going up, and we just keep getting screwed. Carbon tax, don't even get me started on that. I was almost in a really sad part this week that the coal mine near my residence, so this is out in Beaver County, Dodds Coal Mine, apparently was going to shut down, but then I misread the article and it was just the transportation company, because that's the only coal mine left in Alberta that you can get residential coal. And it's not even really for me. A little bit to burn, good stuff. But a friend of mine, his father, he's 68, still lives in the family farm. He's not ready to go into a home just yet because they're in the middle of a land dispute and he still has to sell everything. Typical farmer land dispute. So he still heats the house with coal. So 3 times a year we load up the trailer, go to Dodds, pick up the coal, drive down. There's a chute that we kind of built into a basement and like a corral. And, it's his routine. Gets up every morning, cleans out the ash box, fills up the hopper. He's good to go. And we were scared. If the mine would shut down, we didn't know what we were going to do. But no, we didn't jump the gun on that. So that was kind of okay news. But that's a little bit off topic. Back to Slava for Ukraine. Yeah, I got into it with some army buddies of mine this week about this stuff too. I'm sorry. I don't believe this crap. Afghanistan was about to fuel the, the terrorist attacks happened, but a lot of the stuff I questioned. Iraq, absolute bullshit. Libya, Obama started that with Hillary Clinton. Should never have got involved, and we still sent troops. Iraq, we sent troops. So I'm sorry. I'm really have a hard time believing a lot of what you see on the mainstream media nowadays. And I guess that's kind of why we're doing this show too, kind of a way just to fight back. And yeah, what else? Oh, Creighton on this point, he brought another good video of our blackface in chief doing a great job with World War II history.
Let's get to this video here because it's classic. It is absolutely classic. This is Justin Trudeau standing with the Prime Minister of Italy and Zelensky.
You are fighting to preserve the norms and rules that the whole world agreed to 80 years ago. Rules born out of the ashes of the Second World War, a war that tore apart the countries now led by the leaders standing with me.
All right. There's Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. She's about to collapse on her speaking podium because Justin Trudeau doesn't have a clue in hell. He doesn't know his elbow from his ass at the best of times, but he doesn't have a clue. Who was fighting whom during the Second World War?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I didn't realize that the leader next to him was on the bad guys team. But what can you expect? He's just given talking points, and I don't think he spends a whole lot of time just thinking. I guess the final video on the whole Slava Ukraine thing is one from Robert F. Kennedy, kind of breaking it down. And I mean, he makes some solid points, and he's done a lot of research on this. And it's like a 3.5-minute video, but he really puts things into perspective. I definitely want you guys to see it because it needs to get out there.
This is a war that should have never happened. It's a war that Russians tried repeatedly to settle on terms that were very, very beneficial to Ukraine and us. The major thing they wanted was for us to keep NATO out of the Ukraine. The big military contractors want to add new countries to NATO all the time. Why? Because then that country has to conform its military purchases to NATO weapon specifications, which means certain companies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, get a trapped market. In March of 2022, we committed $113 billion. Just to give you an example, we could have built a home for almost every homeless person in this country. We then committed another $24 billion since then, 2 months ago, and now President Biden's asking for another $60 billion. But the big expenses are going to come after the war, when we have to rebuild all the things that we destroyed. Mitch McConnell was asked, can we really afford to spend $113 billion to Ukraine? He said, don't worry. It's not really going to Ukraine.
It's going to American defense manufacturers.
So he just admitted it's a money laundering scheme. And who do you think owns every one of those companies? BlackRock. So Tim Scott, during the Republican debate, said, don't worry, it's not a gift to Ukraine, it's a loan. So raise your hand if you think that loan's ever getting paid back. Yeah, of course it's not. So why do they call it a loan? Because if they call it a loan, they can impose loan conditions. And what are the loan conditions that we impose on? Number one, an extreme austerity program, so that if you're poor in Ukraine, you're going to be poor forever. Number two, most important, Ukraine has to put all of its government-owned assets up for sale to multinational corporations, including all of its agricultural land, the biggest single asset in Europe. In Ukraine, there's been 1,000 years of war fought over that land. It's the richest farmland in the world. It's the breadbasket of Europe. 500,000 kids almost, Ukrainian kids, have died to keep that land as part of Ukraine. They almost certainly didn't know about this loan condition. They've already sold 30% of it. The buyers were DuPont, Cargill, and Monsanto. Who do you think owns all of those companies? Yeah, BlackRock. And then In December, President Biden gave out the contract to rebuild Ukraine. And who do you think got that contract? BlackRock. So they're doing this right in front of us. They don't even care that we know anymore, because they know that they can get away with it. And how do they know that? Because they have a strategy. And that strategy is an old strategy, which is they keep us at war with each other. They keep us hating on each other. They keep the Republicans and Democrats fighting each other, and black against white, and all these divisions that they sow.
Yeah, and I guess that was just my way to being able to put everything out there. Talk about you guys, about my thoughts about this bullshit war, and that it's been 2 years. Well, it's been a lot longer than that. And we need peace. This needs to end. I don't want people to die. All right, let's change subject to everyone's favorite part of the show. It is the douche of the week. All right, so there was a couple of good nominations this week. Someone really new to the radar this week was the Honorable Sheila Copps. Sheila Copps, former Liberal MP and Deputy Prime Minister in the 90s. I mean, this boomer is 71 years old. And on a tweet from Patrice O'Hamilton, I mean, that's a pretty solid name. Anyway, the parents of Canada do not want their daughters, granddaughters experiencing the anatomy and more of biological males and women's change rooms. So this is about the whole biological males and women's change rooms and blah, blah, blah. And then she had the audacity to say, transgendered women do not have male anatomy. I'm like, she doesn't believe this. I'm sorry. No one at 71 years old actually believes this crap. And I have no idea why she would even do this. I'm like, you're done. You're retired. You're 71. I mean, you got maybe 15 years left if you're lucky. I mean, you set. Why would you play these games? No one actually believes this crap. The old twig and berries, I'm pretty sure, is male anatomy. So, for not knowing the difference between a man and woman, for making me laugh on the internet of how stupid liberals are, Sheila Copps, you are this week's Freedom Honey douche of the week. Freedom Honey approved, Pedro approved, and we will continue on to the next subject. All right. I was going to do a show a little earlier this week, but last night I was in an all-out Facebook chat war with some former Army buddies of mine. And I mean, I wrote a letter, and I kind of want to share it with you guys because this is really close to me. And this is kind of the big push that we did here with Freedom Honey. This is why we helped the V4F guys to create this content, to give you guys something and to boost some eyeballs and spread the message and spread the movement. On the 10th of January, it was leaked out that the Canadian military disregarded legal advice in imposing the vaccine mandates. These internments, there was emails that were leaked out and basically showed that the lawyers had told the senior officials, the chief of defense staff and the senior members of that do not do this. It's not legal. Well, anyway, they did it and they pushed it. And I saw my friend suffer and all the garbage. So I'll read the letter because this is my show and I can do whatever I want. So we'll get into it. If standing up for the rights of troops and calling out vax pushers is wrong, well, then I don't want to be right. I don't point the finger at individuals. I point at all of them as a collective. Senior NCOs, officers, and politicians who help push an unlawful command on unsuspecting corporals and privates. Standing in front of them and reading the directive is as much of an order as sitting them down and yelling it into their face. Some troops suffered greatly. Others were completely mind-fucked by being told this is just political. The mandates could drop at any time and you can go back to work. I remember Pedro telling me, he's like, yeah, man, I go, they're like, oh, man, don't worry about it. This could drop next week. It's not a big deal. No, it is a big deal. You're fucking with people's lives, man. These people have kids. Pedro's got a kid. Anyway, these troops are currently released under 5F designation. So an honorable discharge would be like 5A, which is what I got. 5B is like the dishonorable discharge, like you've had to have committed crime, but 5F is what you give to drug addicts, people with drinking problems and administrative burdens. And I mean, you can't get a government job after this happens. And I mean, these girls and gals got this for committing absolutely no crime as punishment for their defiance. Am I upset? You damn right I'm upset. Because I was the guy that helped pick up the pieces and defended these troops. Guys, I can't tell you how many people were messaging me saying, because I was speaking out and calling out the bullshit. And they said, Mike, we agree with what you say, but I can't say anything or I'll get in trouble. Or it's refreshing to hear someone actually talk back. And this is why I pushed on my last episode that you have to try to put yourself in a position where you're basically ungovernable. I'm uncancelable at this point, basically. If I get fired, I don't care. I'll go work for the competition. Small trade. Anyway, I was the guy getting the text and the calls in the middle of the night. I remember one guy called me at 3 o'clock in the morning in tears, telling me he didn't want to do it and he didn't know what to do. And he knew I was talking out against it. And asked me what I should do. Anyway, these troops were scared, they were anxious, and they feared the reprisals of their superiors. I mean, this was all happening while the chains of command turned their backs on them, vilified and denigrated them. Somewhat as far as, threatening them with things like charges or dishonorable discharge. One of my really close friends was put into an office and said, if you don't take it, we'll find a reason to charge you. Well, I mean, most of these troops broke, so came to the pressure. Others quit before getting kicked out so they could leave. And some guys went through the medical route because the release section was overwhelmed. I mean, I don't hold these troops in disregard. Hearing stories of the troops saying I had to take it, or I can't feed my kids, or I'm too broken, Mike, I can't work anywhere else. I mean, it's disheartening for any person. When the CAF disregarded these troops like cheap pieces of meat, it made me no longer proud of my uniform. I mean, last year I burned it in the fire pit. And I will personally burn every goddamn bridge remaining to remind these senior NCOs and officers of what they did and what they helped do. So hopefully they'll think twice about doing this again. And I think this was kind of the thing that got us in this argument was I don't care if your feelings are hurt about this. I don't care if you thought, I was just following orders, or Mike, I wasn't against I wasn't for the mandate, but I was just reading the direct. I'm like, I don't care. The one thing I could say about, I was just, like I said, I was just a master corporal, but I never fucked any of my troops over. I helped them as much as I could. And a lot of them did really good in their lives, after their small time under my command. So I'm really, really proud of that. But we have these guys. I don't care. You ruined lives. You may have done it, just following, as you say, just following orders. But, and quite frankly, that didn't save the Nazis from Nuremberg. And yes, as much as you may have been against it, you still did it. And that's why you need to be reminded. Because this may happen again. And you have to wear the scars, man. Apparently, nobody took the time to investigate what happened to the troops administered mefloquine, another safe and effective drug, before basically pushing this vaccine crap. If more would have spoke up, and some did, some did the right thing, but most of them, they were just silent, said nothing, went along with it. All I could say to you guys is I hope your pensions and your paychecks were worth it. And this whole universality of service bullshit doesn't trump the Canadian Human Rights Act. You can look it up. To the troops that resisted, paid the price, and those who were coerced into submission, the ones who left quietly for fear of reprisals, please know you're still heroes in my book. And with that, the lawsuit's going really well. I'm really looking forward to the victory. I'll definitely have a couple more beers that night. And hopefully we can get a little justice for these people. And if I, honest to God, made some people butthurt, sorry, not sorry. No amnesty. And I mean, the lawsuit is going really well. Look at New Zealand. They just won theirs. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of got me irked up, you know. I don't like fighting with guys that I used to serve with, but at the end of the day, they need to be reminded that they fucked up, or else this can happen again. So it is a fight. Is it an uphill battle? Definitely. You're going against the government. And I mean, the things we do for guys like Pedro, Connor, the rest of the guys in our Freedom Honey family and the guys outside. And this is, I mean, at the end of the day, this is the greater good. And like I said, I wanted to thank the V4F guys for helping ponying up the cash for the lawsuit and basically being a support network for a lot of these guys who didn't have a place to go. The mandates ended up killing more people in the Army than COVID ever did. And they'll have to live with that fact. All right. One last thing I want to get to before we close off the show for this week is a shout out to Spare and White Rabbit Warrior. That's Alec. That's Aaron. So the guy on the right. Anyway, they started a new show, kind of part of this whole V4F TV called Planting Seeds, available on YouTube, Rumble, a couple other places. Check them out if you got time. They did their first episode yesterday, kind of just an introduction about what they're going to do. And it's kind of their way to build culture and talk about what with like-minded people and kind of just build a nice community, people with similar ideals and beliefs. So please, if you got time, check them out. If you go to White Rabbit Warrior, I mean, he's promoting it like there's no tomorrow on Twitter. And that's about it. So thanks, guys, for this week, for letting me rant about the bullshit that's happening in Ukraine and my thoughts about the vax mandates and me burning every bridge that I had left in the Army. And with that, guys, you guys have yourself a great week. Take care. God bless. All hail the Queen Bee. And we're out.
This is why people OD on pills and jump from the Golden Gate Bridge.